Welcome to the Goatee Sports Page. Coming to you live from the Blue Tick Tavern in Maryville at 105.1 FM. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Bringing you the best in local sports since 1978. Featuring the Greenfield Gunner, Mike Edwards. Former Maryville Scot, Donnie Moore. Former UT coach, Ray Trail. From the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons. And Troy Prove O'Haron.
In downtown Maryville, I'm Mike Edwards along with Donnie Moore, Troy Provo Heron, and Marcus Fitzsimmons, and this is the Goatee Sports Page. Blount County football is on the radar, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card, sponsored by Blount Partnership. The University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Klein Dental Arts SEC Notebook, will be on the agenda. Today we'll talk college football realignment with our Goatee Sports Page panel. Donnie Moore will announce high school scores from around the area, and then Mark It Down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features Heritage Mountaineer Volleyball as Coach Jason Keeble will join Marcus. The Anderson Lumber Company High School Player of the Week segment will be on the docket, as William Blount Governor head football coach Robert Reeves will be in the house. Donnie Moore and our panel discuss sports headlines from around the country before the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on the Music City Grand Prix. And finally, the Shelter Insurance Bowl Prediction segment will close out today's lineup as we'll look into the Goatee's Sports Page crystal ball. And now it's time for the UT Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Klein Dental Arts SEC Notebook, featuring Troy Provo Heron, veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore. Good morning to all of you, and welcome back, Donnie, I think, to the 45th year of the Sports Page.
Wow, we've been at this a long time, haven't we, Mike?
We have been at it a long time, and
you would have thought you'd age better, Donnie.
We're looking for.
Hey, I just am what I am.
I mean, you at this point, you've got wrinkles made for radio.
We're looking forward to another exciting year, and by golly, we tried to get out of the gate this morning. We had technology problems. You know, technology is so great. You know, I was at the Music City Grand Prix, and I had everything on my phone. You know, everything's on your phone now.
That's right.
And you know what they did? They completely dissected my phone 3 days over there trying to get me through the gate. I had everything down there, but they couldn't find the bar, Marcus. We can't find the bar. So I said, well, here's the phone. You find it, because there's no way I'm going to find the bar. And there I stood for 3 days every time I tried to get in there so they could try to find the bar. But anyway, we did have some technology problems this morning, and hopefully this will be the last week, Marcus, that we'll have to put up with that, hopefully.
Well, you know, anybody who's ever updated software knows what happens.
Boy, that's for
and
sure.
That's what we ran into this morning, and we're not on the radio this morning because they're having parts difficulties due to the storm damage they took. So we'll make it work. We'll start off. We're going to do this just like football.
Exactly.
We'll adapt and overcome.
And the old saying, better late than never.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's
hey,
right.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about some college football realignment. That's the big thing that's been taking place in college football, and this time the Pac-12 conference has been raided, stolen from, set ablaze, and is now following this year. For all intent and purposes, that conference is dead.
Oh man,
for the most part,
it just imploded, didn't it?
Yeah, Oregon
it's not dead.
Not quite.
I have Washington State ties. It is not dead.
Okay. Well,
I'm glad they still have a fan or two left in the world, Marcus.
Oregon and Washington are moving to the Big Ten. Arizona State, and Utah are moving to the Big 12, and Colorado has already moved to the Big 12. The only remnants left in the Pac-12 are Stanford, California, and Washington State. You got Stanford. I'm not taking anything away from Washington State, Marcus, but Stanford and California, two pretty good academic schools. If it was the academic bowl, there wouldn't be any problem with conferences picking them up, but that's not the way it works. And so those three teams right now they're out on a limb, buddy.
They're standing out there. You know, everybody's talking about the ACC and the possibility of Cal and Stanford being picked up there. And I'm hoping that does not happen. It makes 0 sense for the ACC. Now, if they want to make them football-only members and leave out everything else, that makes some sense. But it makes no sense to tie them with basketball or baseball or volleyball or track or anything else to the ACC. And they've already got the precedent because we've already got Notre Dame as an everything but football member. So the ACC has done this.
Well, they're homeless people right now, looking
sure
for a
are.
place to go. I'll tell you what would be a great solution for them if Notre Dame decided that they would just form a new conference and take in Stanford, California, and Washington State. Marcus, I think they might get some jumpers over to that league because Notre Dame right now is that golden egg waiting out there for somebody to take. And I don't know. They've got that NBC contract. I don't know whether that's going to happen. They've got some ties to the ACC and their other sports and their football schedule, but they're not in a league.
I know how you bleed shamrocks about this, but Notre Dame is its own animal, and you've got to see a couple things happen before anything can change their stance on football. That contract has got to either be up for renegotiation or the network's got to come to them saying, we're going to drop you if you don't do this. That hasn't happened yet, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. The school's got to be willing to do it, which is not a stance they've taken in any time recently. And there's got to be a financial incentive for the school to match what they're getting now, and nobody's stepping forward with money equal to that. So I don't see that changing anytime in the next few years.
Yeah. Donnie, money was the big factor in this. The Pac-12 just could not get a substantial TV contract to compete. Why not? Do you think it was because, a lot of their games out there start real late and maybe the market's just not there for people around the rest of the country to tune in at 11 o'clock or 11:30 to see a Pac-12 game? I don't know, but they do.
I think that's a big reason,
I think it's
Mike.
the biggest reason.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just people just don't want to stay up late, and they got to get up and go to work the next morning or school or whatever it is.
I mean,
And
football's
you
a
just-
part of it.
Yeah.
And it's a big chunk of it, but 11 o'clock. I mean, there are a few of us who are up at that time and will watch those games on
Sure.
Saturday night. But when you get outside of football, what are you watching from the Pac-12 at 11 o'clock at night in January and February? You're not watching UCLA baseball. You're not watching Washington State.
You're watching Bill Walton.
Yeah.
And
they don't want to play day games all the time.
So you don't have that secondary tier to bring in a good contract. And then when your main market's California, how many professional teams are you competing with for TV and fan attention in that market?
Yeah.
Sure.
For all intents and purposes, Donnie, do you think this conference, the Pac-12, was pretty well doomed when Southern Cal and UCLA made their exit? Because Southern Cal has been a power in football traditionally through the years, and then you take UCLA on the other side of the coin, their tremendous success that they've had in basketball. Yeah. Those were two of the really premier schools in that conference. Was it pretty much the beginning of the end, do you think, when those two teams left?
I do, Mike. They were the two biggest players in the scenario, and when they bolted, I think things took a big turn from there.
Yeah. Well, the Big Ten now, Marcus, is 18 teams. They're getting on up there, and they're coast to coast. I'm telling you, that's going to be a lot of travel and a lot of expense. And you take teams like Rutgers and Penn State, and the travel's involved. And I'll tell you, it's going to be more of a factor for the teams out in the West End than the teams more toward the East, because the teams that's in the middle and the eastern part, they'll probably go out there every other year, don't you guess, to hit those schools possibly? I don't know, but.
Well, I mean, in football, I don't think your costs rise considerably, but I have a real concern for what the cost is going to be for all those other non-revenue sports. When you're talking about what was a bus trip or a short flight that you could book, you've turned that into a major expense.
Millions of dollars.
And you're doing that for every away game that you play at those schools. And they're doing the exact same thing for any game not played, any away game they have. So when they go play a conference game at Maryland, you're investing a week's worth of an athlete's time to go play a conference game.
Yeah. And, it's not like basketball where you could get 2 games on a trip. You could maybe play a Saturday and a Monday, go to that kind of.
Consider that.
We played, and when I was in the SEC back in the day, a long time ago, we played Saturday and Monday games, you see, where we'd take a trip and it would take 2 games on one trip, you see, where you didn't have to go back.
I would actually not be surprised if we see the Big Ten looking at some of the Division III conference models where, especially with like volleyball, maybe even with basketball, where they're going to come out and play like Maryland on Friday and Rutgers on Sunday, because I don't think they have a choice, because you're going to spend a day in travel either way. So are you going to fly the kids back and turn around and fly them back out to Purdue the next day? They'll never be on campus.
Yeah.
And your bill is, I have a hard time seeing how they can do that. If your revenue goes up 20%, but your travel costs go up by 60%, is your school bringing in more money at the end of the day?
Yeah, that'd be the question. Donnie, let's talk about something that I don't know. No, not many people are talking about. Well, what about academics? What about these kids missing maybe classes and travel and that type of thing? That could be an issue here.
It really could, and a lot of these schools, well, a lot of them base they're big on academics too.
Yeah.
And if they're going to miss because of this travel, if they're going to miss a lot of classes and so on, they're not going to be happy about it.
As I mentioned, you got California and Stanford, they're the 2 big
California.
Stanford
are huge.
And then you look over in the SEC, and you got Duke and you got North Carolina. The SEC academically is it may be the strongest league that we've got academically.
That's true.
I don't know, but the other factor is travel for fans, Marcus.
You're not going to have away game travel in the Big Ten. Not outside the traditional rivalries. You're still going to see Michigan fans going to Ohio State and vice versa. But when you get outside that original Big Ten, there's not going to be away game travel. You're going to see the same thing we've seen with Maryland, where when people played at Maryland, there was no visiting section in that stadium for the most part.
Yeah,
there were people
right.
who lived in the Baltimore, D.C. area that would go up to watch those games that were alumni from those schools. But you weren't seeing 2,000 or 3,000, 5,000 fans traveling from Ann Arbor to Maryland for the Michigan-Maryland game.
Yeah. The ACC right now, there's 4 members that say, hey, we don't want to pick up Washington State and California and Stanford. We're not interested in doing that. Let's say that the ACC doesn't do that. You've got Florida State right now, and I know that to get out of the ACC, you've got to pay that exit fee, which is substantial. And Florida State is making overtures and I think by next Tuesday they've got to decide whether they stay or whether they leave. If Florida State goes, wouldn't it be better for the ACC to pick those 3 teams up and give them some more foundation? Or do you think if they don't pick them up that they're just looking at being cherry-picked just like the Pac-12 at some point in time here?
We're not done with the merry-go-round, but it's a matter of where it's going to turn. I think fans in our area can breathe easily because I do not think the SEC is going to do anything dumb here. Now, if I was in charge, I would be offering a trade to the ACC. We'll give you Vanderbilt for Florida State. Because if you think about it, you're getting an academic match and you're giving the football you're giving the football side an automatic win. But the SEC's getting what they need in Southern Florida.
I got a better one than that. We'll give Stanford, California, and Washington State Vanderbilt. That'll give them 4 teams right there to get a new league started.
Well, in the realm of possibility, I would not rule out Vanderbilt being in discussions with people. Maybe not serious ones, but if you're making a call about trying to find a partner for Stanford and Cal, I would think Vanderbilt's in your top 10 list.
The Big Ten now has got 18 teams, as we've mentioned. Are they done? Or do they want to maybe I know they would like to have Notre Dame. They wanted Notre Dame for a long time, and they're right there, and it looks like with them in the Midwest, that'd be the fit. Of course, any league would welcome them. But do you think they would like to have a Southern team in that Big Ten right now as far as an influence down here?
I don't think there's anybody they'd say no to the way they're acting. but I do not feel secure about their future. Like we were talking about the travel costs, we're talking about the impact on students, we're talking about there's no geographic compactness whatsoever. That's not sustainable, not in all sports. So I either see that conference adding some more and then doing what we've seen in Division III, lasting 5, 6, 8 years into the television contract in Division I terms, but then that it implodes because there's a breaking point when you come to the alumni and college presidents and the academic side, and that financial gain is just you're having to offset a huge increase in travel expense. I don't see it being sustainable for them. I think it's going to realign again in a major way once this shift is done, just because I don't think the Big Ten can hold what they have together. I think it's going to wear and tear them.
Do you think that what's happening in this landscape is good for college sports overall? Right now we've got the Big Four conferences. We got the Big Ten, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12. That's the way it's playing out. We got 4 right now. I don't know where that puts all the rest of the conferences in America in football. It looks like they've aligned for football. Now, when you talk about basketball and the basketball tournament and baseball and the baseball tournament and the other sports, it pretty well puts all those other conferences outside of the Big Four, I guess, so to speak, in play. But in football, they're pretty well out. So how does that put them as far as money and going forward?
I'm waiting to see how this happens, because when you look at the top 25 that came out this week, if this was 2 years down the road, basically 15 of your ranked teams are in 2 conferences.
Wow, that's true.
And
yeah,
you're going to be beating up on each other. So it's I think our metric of what is going to qualify to meet, like where right now, if you're a 2-loss team, we don't consider you being able to make the playoff. I think that's going to be thrown out the window, because you're going to be playing top 25 teams 3 or 4 games in your conference schedule at the minimum. So if you've got that going on, that's going to change the bar. And what I think is more possible is I think we're going to get to a point where people are going to take the reverse Notre Dame method, and they're going to start doing this for football, but we're going to keep our other sports in this conference, but we'll do this with football, which is another Division III thing we've seen.
So we're back to high school play right now, where we've got this Tennessee high school conference for football, but when you go to the other sports, it's a whole different district.
That's true.
So Tennessee's been way ahead of the game, according to what Marcus is saying here.
Well, they're chasing the football. I mean, all this is driven by football money, but
yeah,
football money supports a lot of the other sports. But if you just made all those other sports more expensive, that doesn't work anymore.
Yep. Donnie, what happens to tradition with all of this? The Rose Bowl. Let's just take the Rose Bowl. You've always had a Pac-12 team out there. You've always had a Big Ten team, and now that's gone.
You better believe it's gone.
And we're probably going to see that in some other areas. But I mean, you're talking about a real tradition there that goes back 100 years probably, or close to it.
They set that up in the 40s, because Tennessee played in the Rose Bowl at one point, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like 38, 30.
Well, it seems like 100 years. Let's put it that way.
That's 90.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 90 years at least that they've
But
had that format in place.
Yeah.
We just thumb our nose at tradition anymore.
Yeah, and you think of the Big 12 no longer being there. What's the legacy of the Big 12? Where does over time, it's just it never existed, it never happened, it never was.
People just tend to forget about the way things have been for a long time, Mike.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there. But a lot of great teams and a lot of great athletes and a lot of national championships out there. And I know we've got people say, well, their football's not as good out there as it is in the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC, but. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, who is? I mean, name me another
here's
conference.
Here's what I haven't really heard talked about, though. Think about this one. If you're going into Joe Quarterback's living room and you're talking to him and mom and dad, what kind of recruiting edge have you just given the SEC to say, hey, every place we play is a half day away. You're not going to have to pack up and spend 3 days, a day flying out to California and play a game and a day flying back. You know, we're going to give you all the exposure with none of the jet lag.
But on the other hand, you can go into that kid's home and say, hey, come to the Big Ten, man. You can see the USA. We're going to send you to New York, and we're going to send you to Indiana, and we're going to send you to Pennsylvania.
You're going to
see it all.
You're going to see a lot of airport terminals just like everybody
Travel
else.
the country.
Yeah, but I got news for them. That's exactly right. You're going to see the airport terminal and the stadium. That's what you're going to see, and then you're out of there.
Because unless they go the ultimate expense way with charter flights, think about that. What's going to happen the first time we have to cancel a basketball game because the team's stuck in the Denver airport and couldn't get a flight out?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about
that. Could happen too.
Let's talk about these 16 to 18 team leagues and the expansion and everything. How's that going? It seems to me like that's going to be a management nightmare. You see it that way or not?
Well, I mean, you're locked into divisional play in most sports at that size, and it's a question of 2 or 3 divisions almost, sometimes 4. And when you get to that, how is that different than staying in the conference you were already in? I mean, the money's there, but you know, if you're USC and you're going to play, you know, go next door for UCLA, and you're going to have two teams probably somewhere on the western side of that conference to play with, and then you're going to play a mixture of everybody else, and you're going to have to try to figure out how to play a conference championship game. Because think about the nightmare if you have an undefeated team and then 3 one-loss teams. How do you figure out who's going to be in there? You're going to leave it up to their poll ranking?
Yeah. Let's talk about the playoffs. You know, they're thinking about going, or the 12-team playoff is going to come in, correct? 12-team football playoff.
That's right.
That's
right.
Going to come into play. And we've got these super conferences on the board here. How you gonna pick them? You know, who's going to decide the criteria for those 12 teams? Because you got a lot of schools here. And then you throw in a Notre Dame or somebody outside these Power Fours that might go undefeated and win their conference playoff game, and then you know where you at on that? Who's going to set the criteria? Are these 4 conferences setting the criteria? Who's going to make the decisions on the process?
It's a good question. I think it's going to come up because they've got to convert the Power 5 to the Power 4.
Yeah.
Because you've got to redo the agreements that dropped the Pac-12 for non-existing. So I'm sure that's going to come up, and then you've got to look at, you know, what happens if you've got 3 teams from the same conference? What happens if you've got, in the 4-team format, if you've got 2 and 2? If you've got 2 from the Big Ten and 2 from the SEC? Does that start hurting your pull that it's a true national championship because you've only got 2 conferences being there year after year?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
And strength of schedule. You know, you look at how that's going to work out. You look at Georgia's schedule next year, and it's ranked, 146th or something like that in the country. I mean, you know, how are you going to determine
Tennessee and the divisional directionals?
Yeah. Well, it's all interesting. We don't know. I thought we were over for a while, but I think it's a little unusual that all this is taking place right before football starts.
You can blame the Pac-12 leadership for that because this TV deal that ended up breaking the bank should have been done and taken care of, and they shouldn't have left the members out there waiting the way they did. And if you're going to take the whip hand with the TV negotiation, you better take it and manage it. And we've seen good leadership at other conferences do that. And for the conference that should be the most media savvy with all that California connection just mishandled this thing.
Yeah.
And they let it go to the last minute, and then they disappointed everybody with what they gave them.
Yeah. Hey, it's time to turn the page, and next up is the local scoreboard and Mark It Down, featuring longtime sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons and also featuring Goatee Sports Page veteran Donnie Moore. You're listening to the Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Hit a grand slam with Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union to win big on savings. On first, member managed funds account. On second, free spend account. On third, certificate accounts with competitive savings rates. Load your bases at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Must use e-statements for no fee option. Some restrictions may apply. Ask for details.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the local scoreboard sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty. And Donnie Moore, it's almost unbelievable that high school has started up again.
I'm telling you, yeah. I know. I had to go back to work.
You know, at my age, I keep wanting time to slow down a little bit, but it just keeps getting faster for some reason or another. But, golly, it's 90 degrees outside, and, you know, we got football going on, and volleyball's fired up, and I think they're playing golf too, aren't they? And soccer's going on.
Yeah. Golf is already teed off.
It has.
Football, we're going into game week on Monday. Volleyball opens up Monday night. Soccer opens up Monday night.
And that's the reason we're back to work.
That's right. Once you get your foot on the accelerator, it never lets up.
Exactly. Hey, talk a little bit about sports.
You got it. The Mandy B. Street local scoreboard. Here's the first edition, hot off the press. The Maryville Orthopedic Blount County Football Jamboree debuted last night.
Ortho Tennessee
at Maryville. Okay, they've changed the name. They do that frequently. So thanks for the
Thanks for the
Ortho,
heads up.
Tennessee. At
Ortho,
Maryville. I think I can
Tennessee.
say that correctly.
Okay, Ortho, Tennessee.
With purple shirts.
With purple shirts. That's good. Nobody has purple. So
No.
That's good. I like that. But the Jamboree debuted last night over at William Blount High School. Quarter one kicked off with the host, William Blount High School, taking on the Eagleton College and Career Academy Royals last night, who just got their TSSAA accreditation and sanction, and don't have any seniors playing this year, but they'll.
No, I, mean, I like the approach they took, which is
I do too.
has been proven to work fairly well. Starting a new school, you don't just dump a bunch of kids that have gone other places in there together.
Absolutely.
You start them as freshmen, then you have a freshman class and a sophomore class, and we're at the point where they have a junior class, a sophomore class, and a freshman class, but we don't have seniors yet.
And they're playing in Class 2A this year, right?
Playing in Class 2A. I think they'll stay in 2A for a little bit, but we'll see.
Yes.
But
And
their
they've got,
first,
and
their
they've
first
got,
time out there in the Jamboree and as a varsity.
and
Right. Yeah.
They've got great facilities over there.
They do,
You know,
yeah.
the field house.
State of the art
Yeah.
facilities over at Eagleton. But they had their hands full last night against a big William Blount team, and William Blount beat them 13-0 in this first quarter of action. I watched it on the Gov Nation Network last night. But they got some good athletes. So they'll do well in 2A, I think, this year.
And they had a couple. They had some.
Had a
They had
couple
some
good drives.
execution. They
Yeah,
showed
they
some of the
did.
youth, but they also put together some moments
Sure.
that, against a 6A team.
Right.
So,
exactly.
When you translate that down to 2A, they're going to have some. They've got the chance to have some success the first season.
They sure do, and good luck to them this season. William Blount takes on Austin East next week in their home opener. That should be interesting. Always interesting when you play AE.
I will not prognosticate on that one. Let's talk about the skills competition.
Well, we will. And Eagleton goes to Tellico Plains next week.
Yes, they do.
Take on the Bears.
And if you're marking it down, I think it is week 3 that Eagleton has its home opener to have its first home game.
Good. That should be a momentous occasion right there. Quarter 2 was the skills competition. Winners were, they held the punt competition first. Brent Cortez from William Blount had a 61-yarder, a 46-yard net because they didn't have any snaps. They usually snap it back about 15 yards. So, but congratulations to Brent.
Quarterback wins the punting competition.
Yeah, WB, good job. The kick competition was won by Preston Trenham from Maryville, a 60-yarder, who would have been that would have translated back to about the goal line. So he might have gotten that just inside the goal line. The pass competition was won by a tight end from Alcoa, Eli Owens, 56 yards.
I talked to him after that.
Did you?
And
What did Eli have to say?
well, let me say, we're going to have Preston on in a minute. And I'm just going to say he threw a nice spiral bullet down the field. It was 2 yards short of Eli's. Eli put a heave up there, but that thing had a couple feathers sticking out because it had some wobbling duck in there. And he told me that he threw it a lot farther in the practice competition at Alcoa against the quarterbacks than he did last night at the Jamboree in front of a crowd.
He's strong.
He's
He
something
really is.
else. He
does.
really
He
is.
Next up was the lineman 40-yard dash, and that one was won by a lineman, Carson Weaver from Heritage High School.
Put on a burst of speed at the end of that.
He did. He had some in reserve and just blew everybody away in the last 10 yards or so.
And give credit to Mountaineers because that was, the third session teams were already on the sidelines, and Heritage went down there and greeted him at the end and gave him a lot of a reward for that one.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that was a nice dash right there. And then the backs, the 40-yard dash was won by Joel Scales from Alcoa, and that one wasn't real close either.
He, I want to say, probably about 20 yards down, separated, and nobody was catching him.
No, he won pulling away.
I mean, he was still going. The finish line was at the 20, and he wasn't slowing down until he hit the end zone and was coming before he could come back around, start heading coming back upfield.
Absolutely.
And he came back to another. I mean, Alcoa went tearing down the sideline and mobbed him down there. So.
Yeah, they were very happy about that. Well, quarter number 3 of action pitted the Alcoa Tornadoes against the Heritage Mountaineers, and that one was won by Alcoa, 21-0. What'd you think about that one, Marcus?
Well, I mean,
you don't see anything
we're
much.
not
Everything's plain vanilla.
Everything's vanilla, and you're going to get a lot of players on the field. And
yeah,
Alcoa certainly did that. Heritage did that too. Alcoa got done what they wanted to get done with that. Got some players in, got some scores, got a lot of freshmen and sophomores on the field. Heritage, I really liked the pressure they put on Alcoa in the last minute. Now, granted, it wasn't all Alcoa starters out there, but that JV group that they had out there got something to look at because Heritage scared them to death. I think they got lucky a couple times. I think they made some signals that didn't get picked up.
Yeah.
And had they executed what they were told, they might have been burned for the touchdown.
Got it. Well, Alcoa travels to Ravenwood in Williamson County next week. Ravenwood is a 6A school, has about 2,000 students.
I'm headed over there.
Good for you.
I think that's going to be one heck of a game. I think it's going to be comparable to playing a Maryville caliber, because you're talking about somebody that's usually battling for that quad 2 spot.
Yep.
So
that's
it's going to be a good
it'll be
matchup.
A tangle. Yeah.
And if Alcoa is healthy, I like their chances, but we'll see how this week develops.
Yep, we will see. And Heritage, of course, hosts Maryville.
And I'm glad they're still playing that game, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will.
Because Maryville's got to figure out who's going to start at quarterback for certain.
They've got a quarterback battle.
You've got some question marks, and I think there's some stuff going on. Everybody knows everybody in that game, so we'll see.
This is true. And speaking of Maryville, quarter 4 featured Maryville versus Greenback. And Maryville won that one 14-0. That's a David and Goliath type of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You might say.
And I liked it was very similar. Maryville got a couple scores, played a lot of players. Greenback got to rotate some people around because their roster's not that deep.
Right.
I was in the paper. I've taken to calling this a dress rehearsal. And I think that may have been one of the things that a lot of freshmen learned last night. Because in walking around and visiting the sidelines and talking to the teams that weren't playing, and I especially saw this, I noted it rather with one player at Greenback, was there was no locker room. So you had to pack your stuff up at school, get on the bus, have your bag, be ready to dress up there on the practice field and go out there.
Sure.
So you had to check your stuff before you left.
Oh, yeah.
And there were a couple players looking around to get their chin straps and various pieces of equipment that were sitting in their locker rooms back at their schools. And I think a lot of them learned a little bit about responsibility last night, because I think it cost some of them some time on the field because they didn't have the right stuff to get out there.
Gotcha. Well, next week Maryville goes up the Wallen Highway and takes on the Mountaineers of Heritage. And Greenback hosts Loudon, so they don't have any time to rest.
They've got no rest, and that is a grudge match.
That's
an intense rivalry game in Loudon County.
Believe it. Better believe it.
It's not Loudon Lenore City, but
no,
neither Loudon nor Lenore City wants to be the one that loses to Greenback.
Nope,
so it's
don't.
always got something there.
You're right. So the Blount County Football Jamboree is over and done for another year. Next year it'll rotate back to Alcoa.
We think
we think.
I believe
Yeah,
that
they
was the
usually
indications was
go-
we're going to start a new rotation.
Well, they might. Things change around here, but usually goes by alphabetical order.
It usually goes alphabetical order, but I don't know where if or where they're going to slot Eagleton in if they have the facilities to host
Yeah.
for 26. But we're pretty sure it's going to Alcoa
Yeah.
in
that's
24. So,
Right.
so
we'll
we're
see
gonna
how
note-
that
we got to
goes.
note it. If everything Blount County Commission has said to this point goes on, this is the last jamboree on grass.
That's right. Exactly.
It will be an
right.
artificial turf from here on out.
You got it, man. That's something. Last one on grass.
So please don't go out there and pull a plot up yet. Wait till the
No,
end of the
no,
year.
wait.
Mike Whitefield needs to stay intact for another few months. But
Exactly. Well, that's it for the local scoreboard, sponsored by Mandy B. Street. Now we're going to kick it to our friend and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature. Mark it down.
And thanks, Donnie. And we got the correction. We're going to fix this in the script going forward. I'm back at the Daily Times now.
Good.
So as of Tuesday, I'm back covering some sports for the Daily Times, and glad to be back
Outstanding.
doing it.
Outstanding. Great.
But
great
we
to hear.
have Heritage Volleyball in the house, opening the season officially on Monday. Coach, thanks for bearing with us this morning, and I know it was a little bit longer wait than we had promised you. Go ahead and introduce who you brought in, but I want to start with, if you'd brought all your seniors like is what we usually do, we wouldn't have had enough seats in the restaurant.
Yeah, we'd probably have to sit over there, on the tables. I brought 3. I've got 13 total that stay with the
Wow.
program. So I think that speaks volumes of kind of what we do there, and the way the kids buy in, and the leadership of this class that they've stuck together for really 4 years. And I've got Landry Yates here. She's I was kind of joking with my wife. I'm like, how would I describe her? Where are we going to play her? She could play front row, back row, libero. She probably play middle if I needed her to, but she's just a volleyball player. And we're using her on the right side now in the front row. So she played there last year. She hit some outside, so she can do whatever I ask her to do. I've got Kaylin Bradley. She's our outside hitter. We're going to lean heavily on her to score points for us this year. And then really it all starts, I guess, with Grayson Jones here, our libero. For those of you who know what the libero is, they're the defensive specialists. They stay on the back row all the time, usually in for the middles. And she's going to pass the ball and make sure serve receives steady, and that we can run our offense. So I appreciate those 3 coming out here this morning on a Saturday, knowing the season starts here, and we're going to hit the ground running Monday.
So let's talk about you all got the play day on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like the football jamboree? What do you all try to accomplish when you get out there? Is it a dress rehearsal, or is it you're trying to figure some things out?
What it is, it's kind of the last tune-up and a dress rehearsal. You can ask the girls. I played probably 3, 4, 5 different lineups, put kids in different spots. We got Maryville right off the bat. And to me, Maryville, our district's tough, with some addition with West. But, to me, they're kind of king of the hill until somebody knocks them off. So we got to play them right off the bat. And I saw them again in Rocky Top Saturday before this Thursday. So we played them a couple of times. And, like you talked about football, we know their personnel very well. And coaching staff, one of my best friends, so we know it's going to be battle when we play them. So I like playing them. So we got a good look at them, and I think came up a couple points short, but played right there with them. So I think being able to see all the different combinations that we put on the floor and the depth that I've got some good young talent that came in, probably 3 or 4 underclassmen that'll see some minutes this year. We'll be fine.
So when you've got 13 seniors, you got it. It's great that you have them, but how do you rotate them all?
Well, it's like anything, whether it's football, basketball. Obviously the kids that perform will be the ones that play. So I try to preach it. In practice, I think I told talking to Times after Thursday. The iron kind of sharpens iron, and we got a lot of good kids that I can put 6 on this side, 6 on this side, and we go at it. And it's a team sport, so whether you're on the floor, on the sideline, or you're pushing people in practice, everybody has a role. And I think with this group, hopefully they've bought into that role. And I just said, hey, when your number's called, be ready to go in, whether it's serving, whether it's front row, back row. Always be alert on the sideline. Your number may get called. So I think they bought in.
Does it give you a flexibility to put different looks together, where you can have one look when you have the quad matches, where you can have one look against Team A, and in your second match you can have a totally different lineup with a totally different look? for that second round?
It does, and we play different opponents, so based on who we play, I can rotate some kids in, and I think that's key because it's not like football. 12, 13 weeks. October 2nd is our district tournament, so we've got this 2 weeks in August, 4 weeks of September, then our district tournament starts. So we've got a 6-week kind of mad dash here to kind of jockey around. And I think having the depth on some of these matches we play, I can rest some starters and that normally start, and now we'll be hopefully fresh going into October.
Well, let me ask the seniors here. Who's in charge of this team? Who's the captain that's running the show?
I'm interested in this one. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that.
I think that we haven't really definitely Keeble has not told us who our actual captain are, who our actual captains are, but I feel like we have a big group of leaders. I feel like all of us play a part in it. There's not one specific person that carries one part of the team. I feel like we all work together really well and just do it together.
Right, and I think we have so many seniors that it's always a constant battle that who can push each other, who can be the best, and I think that's how it should be.
We have a great team of girls, and we all have a great team chemistry that we've built together over a process of 4 years because we played together for so long. And so I think that we could all be leaders and push each other and just become a better team over the course of the next 3 months.
So everybody here's got experience. You know that you're playing in one of the toughest districts in the state. If you can get out of this district, you can make it to state. So what's the goal this year? What do you want to be when, Coach talks in October? Where do you all want to be?
State tournament.
State.
Yeah, state.
So is the goal to get there, or is it the goal to go all the way with this? What are y'all looking? What makes it a successful senior season?
I say go all the way.
Yeah.
Go as far as we can go. Take it home.
Yeah, I feel like the goal is always to go all the way. Just make it as far as we can. Obviously, we just have to work together. I feel like our team really trusts each other, and we know that we can go that far. We made it far last year, and we only lost 4 seniors. So I feel like our senior class this year really wants to push and make it all the way.
So here's the interesting one. When you've got this many seniors running around on the court, you still got underclassmen. Do you all think about what you're going to leave behind? Because you're going to leave Coach with the giant hole. He's got to still field the team in 2024.
That is right.
What do you have to do with the underclassmen to make sure they're ready to take your place a year from now?
Well, we have 35 girls, or 39 girls on our team. And so when they get to practice with us and play with us, we push them to become better. And I think just getting to run drills with us and see how we play and watch us, it helps them a lot to become better and see what they're working towards.
What's the standard that they have to meet as far as the seniors are concerned? What do the underclassmen have to do to be part of, to make you feel like they're going to be able to play Lady Mountaineer style?
I feel like we all treat each other the same. We don't treat a freshman any less than we treat a senior. We push them the same amount. We tell them to work as hard. We tell them to have as much energy. We push them to be as a senior would.
I feel like we try to set the bar as high as it can go, and just everybody constant. And like Keeble said, iron sharpens iron. We're always just trying to go at it and everybody get better.
And they do a good job. Talking about Thursday, one thing is, we always watch skill and maybe results, but as coaches do this a long time, you notice the intangibles of, for instance, in practice, there's a ball on the sideline, who picks it up? We want to clean the area and whatnot. So just the little things of shagging a ball. But in the play on Thursday, I know Kayla, she comes out some back row and a sophomore goes in, and I'm pretty sure it was you. She maybe shanked a pass or did something, and you might have been on the floor with one, but you were up, first one up to him, pat him on the back, hey, you're good, let's go, we got this. So as far as, it'd be easy for them to underclassmen, but they're embracing the team concept, and I think trying to pull these young ones along, because for one, I think they know they may need them at some point this year because their underclassmen are good, and then for two, to leave behind, kind of lead by example, I guess, so to speak, is what I'm trying to say. And they did a great job of that Thursday, where they're on the sideline or on the court, they're cheering, they're supporting, they're teaching, and that's about, when you have 13 seniors, there's just one of me, 39 girls. I've got 3 pretty good assistant coaches that I lean on heavily, but having 13 kind of mini coaches out there too that's been there, done that. You know, that'll I think our young ones will learn a lot from them.
So you've got challenging advantages with the roster you have. What do you see this team needing to do the first couple of weeks to kind of get things off to the right start?
Just consistency. You know, I was talking to Chris a little bit after Jamboree too, and she knows all these kids. You know, we've coached them, whether it be here at club, and she's like, you know, we got the talent to compete. Obviously, a lot of it's a mindset or a mental side here of losing the 3 seniors, all 3 going to play college, one at ETSU, Emory and Henry, and then Pellissippi just starting up a program, so our setter's going to kind of be the inaugural setter there. So all 3 of those 4 are going on to play college ball. So kind of having to fill that void of leadership and who can we lean on when a game's tight. And, you know, we've seen that through the preseason. We played Westridge. It's funny, the first scrimmage we had was against Westridge, who put us out, and we lost, I think, 26-24. But we led most of that game, so it's just now about finishing and learning maybe whose role's what. Got 2 new setters. I hadn't mentioned that. That's huge when you have 2 setters that's never set a varsity match, really, and started, had that pressure. So I think once the setters get a little comfortable, or I've got 3 actually that I can rotate in, that once they get comfortable with the offense and these girls get used to hitting off maybe a different set of hands than we had with Aubrey the last couple of years, and that consistency, it'll come over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And we got we play Monday, then we don't play again until we have the big Sun Sphere tournament where we get about 50, 60 teams coming in from Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia. It's a big high school event for this area, probably in the country, to be able to come in a convention center atmosphere and have a tournament of that magnitude. So we're going to get tested on that first weekend for sure.
You were going where I was going with that, because I noticed the blip on the schedule where there was actually an opening at the end of the next week, and I was like, tournament's got to be coming up real soon. Talk a little bit about that one. When is it going to be? And
it's Friday, Saturday. We run this tournament with Maryville, Chris, and then with Catholic, Brent Carter at Catholic. So the 3 of us kind of put this on, and you know, you get guaranteed 4 matches. I think 2 years ago we played like 7 or 8 because we won the silver side in our pool. You got gold, silver, bronze, and like a challenge bracket based on where you finished the first day, first, second, third, or fourth. I think we finished second that year, and we ended up playing, I think, 4 or 5 matches on Saturday after 2 on Friday. So we get 6 matches in 2 days. So, again, the depth we've got, hopefully if we make a run like that in one of these brackets this year, that we'll be able to get a lot of kids in. So you're talking, that's a lot of games in a weekend. So that's the reason we have that break. I'm trying to give a little cushion there, knowing that that's coming up.
And like I said, it's at the convention center, so if people want to come watch a full day of volleyball and see some of the best teams around, not just for this area, but for the region, state, like you said, that's an opportunity.
It is. I was looking, the schedule just came out, I guess, yesterday or 2 days ago, and the way it's set up, we have 3. It's called power pools. There's 4 teams in each, so there's 12 teams in these power pools that they don't really get eliminated from the goal. It's just they go play each other. And I think Maryville's in one, in Cleveland from Tennessee. They're the 2 that I recognize from Tennessee. That's kind of Brentwood's in there. Then we got a lot of out-of-state teams are there. We're a 1 seed, and I think Pool H or whatever, but we get Clinton, Saudi Daisy, and CPA, which I believe is Christ Presbyterian out of Nashville. So they're the 2 seed in their pool. They'll probably be solid. So we'll get to see 3 good teams right off the bat, and then we'll see where, based on winning or losing, where that propels us on Saturday.
So I see the nods behind you. So I'm going to ask, do you all look forward to this event?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the best part about this? Is it? I'm going to guess it's because you all know all the teams from this area really well. It's the chance to play girls you've never played before.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also like getting to see people that we have played with. Like a lot of the people that we play will be on our club teams, and like we've known them for forever. And I just think it's fun to play teams that we haven't played and like get a feel for them and see how we do against them, and just also like reunite with some of our old teammates.
How much do you take out of this as far as we're going to do this and then we have the district to worry about it? How much does this help? Does this help you get ready for district tournament or district play, I should say?
Yeah, I feel like it really helps with district play. I mean, all of these teams are really good teams. Like, there's like the Clevelands and the Maryvilles and like the Christ Presbyterians, and I feel like all of them are really solid teams. I feel like it just warms us up for the competition that we'll see in our district.
Well, Coach, it sounds like you got a busy week ahead. You ready for that?
I am. I was really ready for this week. I told the girl I slept till 9 this morning. I'm always up before 8. I mean, if it's 8, it's a miracle. Usually it's before 7, but it was 9 o'clock. I thought, uh-oh, I better get dressed here and get ready to come this way.
You could have slept in till 10 because we had technology problems this morning. So, time wasn't a problem.
No, we're good.
Well, we appreciate you coming in this morning, and maybe you can bring another set of 3 later this season.
Hopefully that's
it's not that we don't like these 3. I love these 3, but you've got a lot of rotation to do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But we appreciate y'all having us on covering high school sports,
Great.
especially volleyball, and we're kicking off Monday home, so if you want to watch some
So
volleyball,
a chance to come out and watch the Lady Mountaineers opener at Heritage.
Morristown West and Lakeway Christian. William Blunt will be there with us, so it's a quad. So they'll be on one side of the court, we'll be on the other, and we'll both play Morristown West and Lakeway.
Great chance to come see the season opener this week.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, we'll go ahead and turn the page and get ready for some more teams.
Okay, Marcus, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be up. You're listening to the Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment. Want to mention, Marcus, that Troy Provo-Heron is in class. Seems like he's in class all the time, especially last year, but he's finishing up some master's work. He's going to be in and out this first semester, and in the second semester he should be here full time. So, but anyway, we've got William Blount football in. I've been reading a little bit about them. They got a new offensive scheme over there. They've got some high expectations for this year, and Robert Reeves is in here with a couple of players. So, by golly, I'm going to turn it over to you, Guy.
Yeah, and we're giving them that Anderson Lumber thumbs up because they hosted the Jamboree last night
and got off to a good start.
Start. So it seemed like a very opportune time to bring Coach in here. Coach, let me start off. Introduce the two guys you brought with you. I think we know them, but for people watching on the video, who you brought with you this morning?
Oh, man. Hey, we've got Brandon Garrett here. He's a defensive lineman for us and a reserve offensive lineman. And then we've got Brett Cortez. These are both seniors, and Brett is our starting quarterback and one of our backup reserve safeties.
And he's also a heck of a punter.
Yeah, and I told him that a long time ago. It's funny because we were talking about what we want to do punt-wise this year, and I was like, well, I know I've actually used my quarterback as a punter before, and it was really nice because nobody wants to rush because you can throw it. And I was like, I asked Jeff, I said, Jeff, can he punt? He goes, yeah, he can punt. And then Brett went out there a couple times and punt. I said, yeah, he can punt. Let's split him punt. So, yeah, he got a hold of that one, though. Oh, yeah. But he's done that at practice a couple times. They don't all look like that. That
last night was a pretty kick.
Yeah.
Best spiral of the group, which I was laughing. I was like, the quarterback just kicked the prettiest punt out of this whole group of 6.
Yeah. If he did it every day, I mean, I say this. I was telling the coaching staff this year, I believe if he did that every day, and he did that every day since when he was a freshman, truthfully, I think he'd be one of the best punters in America. I'm telling you that. I believe it. I've coached 2 of the best punters in America. If he did it every day and he didn't have to play quarterback and safety, he would be a really, really good punter.
Not much wind last night either, was it?
No, wasn't a lot of wind. No. Not a lot of wind.
So, Coach, let's start with you play Eagleton, you got the opening quarter, you played the long quarter, the 12-minute quarter.
Yes, sir.
You get 13-0 win over in that quarter. What did you feel about the team coming out after you walk away from that one? How do you feel about it today?
Well, the main thing for us all along is game 1, and so we've tried to schedule some more difficult opponents to just kind of see where we are and try to expose some things that we know we need to work on. We use it as a way of teaching tool. But for us, what I was really proud about going into our last 2 scrimmages, we've really taken some of the things that we knew we needed to work on, and we've really gotten a lot better at those things, especially defensively. I'm really proud of our defense. They've really, really stepped up, and they've done a really good job getting better. So, for us, all the scrimmages lead up to an opportunity to get ready for AE. And so when we played last night, Eagleton, one of our county schools, I didn't really know anything about them. Didn't really watch any film on them. I told our kids we're worried about what we do, don't care what they do. And John Wooden used to say that all the time. I know that Coach Edwards knows a little about John Wooden, but he used to say, I don't really care a whole lot about what they do. I care more about what we do. And so that's really kind of what we have tried to do, is just worry about working on us.
Well, since you've been on here and visited with us, you had a facilities upgrade.
We have.
You're in that field house now. How does that feel, and what has it allowed you to do this season you couldn't do before?
Well, first of all, it allows us to come in after practice and enjoy the air conditioner. Like, oh, God, that's so refreshing. I mean, it's amazing. It's like, because before we're coming in, it's like 90 degrees. Like, it's no relief. It's no relief.
Yeah, but now if I was coaching, we'd be having a lot of film study right now. That's what we'd be having.
So we've actually been able to use the air conditioner. But what's nice is, we have a workout room on one side, coaching office in the middle, and we have our near locker room. And So I will say, because we're fortunate this year to have more kids out, we don't have enough locker space in our locker room. We actually have to dress about 30 freshmen down in the old locker room, so they have to deal with the heat. But these guys get the luxury of having the air conditioning. But it allows us to really do some different things. We have a film room on the other end of the stadium, so we can break our staff up. Some people can go to the film room. Some of the football players can go and watch in our locker room. We have a TV. We can watch film in there. We can also watch film in the weight room. We've hosted some different events in our weight room. We've had a decal day. We've had a mother's clinic. So it gives us really a space that, that's nice and we can use every day, and something they deserve, because, I was been there many years, and I've seen rain come through the roof. I've seen rats as big as your leg. I've been cornered by a raccoon that had rabies. So I've seen some crazy things, and we're really excited about next year because, finally this craziness with this, whatever it was, I don't know, but with the field turf, that got approved. And so in November, they said October, but I told them don't plan on in October because we're going to go to the playoffs this year. So just move it back to November. So just we won't be starting in October. We'll start in November, and hopefully not even November. Hopefully it could go December. But we're going to get new field turf, which is we're real excited about that. It's great for our community. It makes it so much easier to for other sports to be involved. The practice without fear of having to. Okay, we're going to tear our field up, so now the middle school can't play. And I hate that when a middle school kid, here's a 13, 14-year-old kid looking forward to their game, and the night before we get 2 inches of rain, I got to go up to the coach. Hey, coach, you can't play. Why? Well, we got a game in a week, and it's going to be a mud pit, and we can't play in a mud pit. And I don't like that, but it's had to be done in the past. We won't have to ever worry about that ever again.
Yeah, I think one of the questions we've had is the turf you get when it's installed, is it planned to be just a football field, or is it going to be lined out where lacrosse and soccer and other sports can use it?
Okay, so there will not be lacrosse lines on it, because really the issue you get with that, if you have lacrosse, soccer, and football lines, it becomes a befuddled mess. I've seen it. It's really not. It's not really a good situation. But we'll have gray or light gray lines for soccer on the field. There'll also be an area for track and field, so it'll be an extension. There'll be an area for long jump on the back right side. I think we'll even have a triple jump area on the far right side. And then plans going forward are to redo our track, which needs to be redone, but that'll come later. But they're going to take the fence down, take the curb out, regrade it, put some drain lines in, then install the turf. And the turf we're getting is, honestly, truthfully, we're very fortunate. It's one of the best turfs, maybe the best turf in America. It's Hellas Corporation. They did the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. They did the Dallas Cowboys. Eagleton has it. It's really nice. It's got this a concussion pad underneath it, a real soft pad. It helps with concussions, reduce concussions. And that's another thing that I like about the turf. The heat on turf is always, that's one of the things. It does get a little bit warmer, but one of the things I like about the turf is when you come play on our field in late October, the turf has died down. It's been worn down, and it's almost like walking on concrete. So if you get tackled and your head hits the ground, you got a good chance of getting a concussion. That goes down dramatically when you have turf, because you're going to have a big, thick foam pad underneath that's going to stay consistent. Plus, it has the rubber on there that provides that cushioning. So I'm excited about that from an injury standpoint. And really, the stats out there for ACL, MCL injuries are actually pretty good, even with grass as a comparison. As a matter of fact, last one I read is there was no negligible difference. It's the same. So I'm excited about that.
Well, you've got the two seniors who aren't going to get to enjoy that.
No, unfortunately.
But you can leave the legacy with what it's going to be like, be the last team on grass. But I'm going to talk. I got to start with this one. You get the first score last night. Broke off to the right side, went about 59 yards down the sideline. Had a great block in front of you into some open field. Talk about that play. What happened? Because you ended up all by yourself on the right-hand side for the most part.
Right. I just, we had that play. I just pulled it and ran, and I saw my receiver, Gavin Dabrowski, working his tail off and blocking that guy out into the sidelines. And then that opening just came up, and I just told myself, go, you're not getting tracked down. So.
Well, how far did down the sideline did you get before you realized nobody was going to get in your way?
I honestly don't know. I kind of went tunnel vision.
You were just untouched. I mean, you went past the safety and there was nobody there.
I thought somebody was on my back the entire time, but I guess that was Darius looking, at
probably
the
was
film.
Darius.
Yeah, I thought that was somebody from Eagleton, but yeah, I just got kind of tunnel vision. I don't really remember it, but it just ran.
So, are you enjoying this new offense, and how much pressure does it put on you?
Right, I am enjoying this. I get to use more of my skills set. Run around throwing the ball, and for the line really, it's not changing much. Just pulling them back in the shotgun. But yeah.
Coach, how much reading does he have to do, and how big of a cog is he to
what's
that offense?
He has quite a bit, honestly. I mean, truthfully, in the offseason we did a pretty in-depth study of some different offenses that we like. My background and even Coach Cortez's background has been some air raid, so we've encapsulated some ideas in the air raid and the Mike Leach kind of stuff with a little bit of what Tennessee's done with the idea of spreading the field, create some space. And in our system, he has to make all the protections. He makes protection calls, which is for him, he's got it down. He has to read coverages. He has to be able to, on certain particular plays we run, to look at look off one safety, read on a safety on the backside, and see what he wants to do. But we also have some simplicity in it, to take some things off of him. But really, for us this year, we really wanted to get more kids out, so we're trying to two-platoon so kids get more reps, get opportunities to play. We do have a few injuries that are require some other players, like Brand wasn't going to have to play some offense. He's going to have to give us some depth at offense now because we had a few injuries. As a matter of fact, his brother, Holden, hurt himself last week, but his twin brother. So, with our offense, we've really tried to adapt to some of the things we do well. Brett is adept at running, and so we try to use that a lot in our offense this year. I really feel like, if we can have that success with his ability to scramble and make things, that makes it difficult to defend as a former defensive coordinator. When you got a quarterback that can run it, it's not a lot of fun. It's very difficult to defend that.
That's a perfect lead-in because my first question to Brandon was, is it more fun to block for him or chase him?
Personally, I prefer defense. I love getting off that edge, and once I see that QB, I just want to go for it. I prefer to chase him rather than protect for him. But if I have to protect for him, I will.
So you've got a variety of quarterbacks you're going to see this season. But when you in practice get to work against Brett, who's pretty elusive, does that give you a better feeling for how to track down some of these quarterbacks you're going to see this year?
Oh, for sure. I know we've done a bunch of scrambling stuff where he's scrambled out, and I'm 5 technique, so I'm trying to get to him. So I'm trying to run out to him as well and keep him off to the side. So if I don't get him, hopefully backfield will get him. And even when he starts scrambling inside, keeping level down, breaking down, so he doesn't try to juke me out or break me.
Break you. I like that. He broke me.
Last night we saw, it wasn't a perfect defensive effort, but it was a good defensive effort last night. How has this defense grown since last year?
Wow. Our line, I feel, has gotten a lot better. We're striking them. We're jarring them. And we can get our hands off. Last year our hands weren't as good. We would just try to shoulder check or try to break through without using our hands. We're doing that, and our outside has been doing a lot better. Caleb Don, that pick yesterday, it was good. We've been giving him stuff, all practices and everything, and he showed us all. And I really think we're doing good, and we're breaking down, hitting tackles, doing what we need to do.
So, coming off the season off of last year, every win is important. Every step is important when you're coming back from that. So, how big was last night? How big of a step was that for the confidence to go into game week?
It boosted our confidence so much. Everyone was so hyped before and after the game, and all of our coaches were excited. It really it felt great for everyone. There was sometimes we're not doing our jobs, but majority of the time we did, and we getting praised for that, and it really it boosted everyone, and I felt great. I bet Brett felt great. All the defense, offense, everyone was really happy after the game.
So now we're gonna pick on Brett about the punting a little bit, Coach.
That's fine. Get him.
You got to kind of wonder when you're the quarterback and also the punter, you get punished if you don't convert on third down. You've got to stay on there and go kick that thing. You don't get to walk off the field.
Yeah.
Does that give you a little bit of incentive on 3rd and 3 to make it pick up the first?
Right. That makes me think even more. I'm like, dang, I really don't want to punt this. I got to get this 3rd down. But yeah.
So what? We talked a little bit last night. You go out there you win the punting, but you come out you're second in the longest pass.
Yeah.
You got beat by a tight end, dude.
All right. Well, he's a great athlete. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 2 yards short. I mean, but I definitely had more juice in the tank to throw that.
Well, you were the last one up for the throw. You had basically 5 receivers to pick from. Were you looking like trying to treat one of them as a receiver, as I'm going to get him the ball, or were you just hurling it to see how far it could go?
Thursday, me and my QB coach, we're just practicing this. I'm like, Coach, I'm throwing at like 40, 50 yards. He was just like, just imagine, a receiver running down a post or something. I'm like, okay, so that really helps. But, yeah, I can't walk up there and just throw it, but I have to think hard about it.
Well, I thought both of the efforts were really good. I mean, and Donnie.
No question.
Donnie is a former kicker. I think he appreciated that kick.
It was good.
But, there was just so much that seemed to go right for you all last night. And let me give a shout-out to Scott Cup because I thought Jamboree went off really, really well. The addition of the electronic tickets and the difficulty of moving 5 schools in and out of there and making arrangements and all that. Everything seemed to go rather smooth from the outside last night. So I thought y'all did a great job hosting, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll tell you what, if the guys can win their way back on here, how about that?
Hey,
we'll lay that down.
We want that to happen. These guys, I've done this 28 years now, and I've coached some teams that were really bad. I've coached some teams that were really, really good. And one thing I'll tell you about our William Blount kids is they're really, really good. They're winners. It may not always show on a scoreboard, sorry, but they're winners, and they work hard. And I'm an old kind of guy. I believe that if you work hard, good things will happen. Good things are going to happen for our team this year.
I think this show, we agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Because the best wins don't always show on the scoreboard. And we've seen some athletes come through here that have gone on to some really great things that had nothing to do with sports because of the experience they had with playing. And so we appreciate that too.
Yeah, thank you. No, they're a blessing to work with. My coaching staff's wonderful, and these guys they make coming to work very easy.
So we appreciate you guys getting up on Saturday morning.
you.
Probably
Yeah,
the
thank you.
last mostly bruise-free Saturday you'll have for a couple months. So thanks for spending a little bit of that with us. And, Coach, thanks for visiting.
Yeah, thank you guys. We always appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
Mike, let's go ahead and turn the
Okay.
page.
All right, thank you,
Hey,
guys.
Time for a break. When we return, it's Sports Headlines with Donnie Moore and the Boyd's Sports Spotlight. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
Hit a grand slam with Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union to win big on savings. On first, member managed funds account. On second, free spend account. On third, certificate accounts with competitive savings rates. Load your bases at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Must use e-statements for no fee option. Some restrictions may apply. Ask for details.
The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland, excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the sports headlines. And before I get to the sports headlines, I want to make mention that we've got a new sponsor on the Goatee Sports page, Murphy's Bobcat.
Yeah.
Rodney Murphy down there, and I like their telephone number, 865-856-DIRT.
That's it.
I'm telling you, got dirt in that telephone number, you know that somebody's going to get down and get with it, right? Huh?
That's right. When you think about dirt, you think about Murphy's Bobcat.
Yeah, and they do Bobcat and dozer work, and they're in the excavating and landscaping business, so forth. So we're happy to have them on board with us.
Yes, we are. How awfully glad to have them aboard.
Yep. It's all yours, Guy.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, Twitter owner Elon Musk announced yesterday that he and Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg have agreed to terms on a mixed martial arts fight. Yes, indeed. Musk tweeted that the fight will take place in Italy, possibly inside the historic Colosseum in Rome. It will be promoted by his and Zuckerberg's people, and it will be live streamed on Twitter, now known as X, and Meta. He also tweeted that the proceeds from the bout will be donated to veterans. A specific date for the fight has not been revealed as of yet. What do you think about that?
Well, my first question is, are between them they're going to raise the money to put a floor back in the Coliseum? Because it doesn't have a floor. You look down. You look down into the basements that were underneath.
The catacombs underneath.
From Gladiator, you're seeing where the gladiators were. There is no floor in the Coliseum.
I know.
So if they're going to do that, I mean, I'm sure they could finance it if Rome's good with that. But I mean.
I'm intrigued by this. Because one of them is a little bitty guy and one of them is a great big guy, for one thing, so they're going to have a handicap, for one thing.
Well, you know, If ESPN shows me 30 seconds of highlights, I won't turn it off. I'm not paying money to see that.
No, I'm not either.
I'm not investing the time to watch
Nope.
that.
No, but this may be one of the biggest bombs in history. I don't know.
If it's a publicity stunt, then kudos.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean
a
they're
nice
raising money for veterans, so
Now they are, but that's not how this started.
no.
But if it's a publicity stunt to promote their companies, then kudos for a job well done
Of
on that.
course.
They don't ever have to fight because the fact we're even talking about it is Meta
Yeah.
versus X or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, exactly.
If they wanted to make a lot of money, they could turn some lions loose down there and let them run through those catacombs.
Now that I would pay to see.
That would warrant more than 13 seconds of your viewing time, right?
That was good, Mike. I like that.
If we were getting to watch them run from the Lions down there with the aerial view from their drones, and we could, if Troy could get down, we could place live bets on whether the Lion's going to eat his foot or not.
Hey, yeah, Troy would get in on that action, wouldn't he?
Yeah, that I would actually invest the time to watch.
Well, San Diego Chargers defensive end Joey Bosa stands 6'5" tall and played the 2022 season at 250 pounds, which was down from the 265 to 270 pounds he weighed during his Pro Bowl 2021 season. On this year's 2023 NFL website, Bosa is listed at 280 pounds. And to get to that extra 30 pounds of bulk, he estimates that he had to consume between 4,500 to 5,000 calories per day this offseason. Now, according to Bosa, eating isn't really enjoyable these days. It's more so just part of the job. That's a quote. Having to stay close to the refrigerator, Bosa ate 5 or 6 meals per day and snacked constantly. His diet consisted of fruit, red meat, chicken, fish, vegetables, chickpea pasta, pretzels, nuts, smoothies, and peanut butter.
Well, he's getting warmed up. When he retires, that'll be his daily schedule. Huh?
He had to put on 30 pounds and plus working out and put on 30 pounds of muscle.
But if he's on that schedule when he retires, he'll put on 75 pounds.
Easy, won't he? Easy. Sit in front of the TV and put on 75 pounds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man. Whew. Well, Michael Lorenzen, moving to the Major League Baseball, Michael Lorenzen threw a no-hitter in just his second start for the team Thursday night as the Philadelphia Phillies shut out the Washington Nationals 7-0. The no-no was only the 14th in Phillies history, and young Lorenzen needed only 124 pitches to accomplish the feat. He was mobbed by his teammates post-game in Citizens Bank Park, then toasted in the clubhouse afterward.
You got to feel good anytime somebody can do that.
Yeah.
The fact, they're just not common, and they're just not as easy to accomplish.
Absolutely not, because they don't leave pitchers in long enough to do that.
And with the modern hitting and what Charlie can go on and on about, guys work 5 innings in a start.
Yeah.
Normally, that you can go all the way with the no-hitter. You got to throw over 100 pitches.
That's right.
And you could actually still do it because that's not the normal routine.
I know.
Then that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, good on him. Only his second start. That's pretty cool. Well, Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin is scheduled to return to the field less than a year after suffering a cardiac arrest during a Monday Night Football game. Per head coach Sean McDermott, Hamlin is scheduled to play versus the Indianapolis Colts in their first preseason game this afternoon. Hamlin says he is trying just to stay in the moment and not to dwell on the past or think too much on what is to come. That's pretty amazing. Less than a year after we all watched that. And it was, I mean, you held your breath because it looked like that he was not long for this world.
Yeah, and it's become a wonderful story where it could have been one of those things that we just didn't want to talk about because it didn't end well.
I know.
And the interesting thing, this also happened during the off season. If you remember the player who stepped in, after he collapsed, his next man up went in and played for him the rest of the season.
Yes.
The next game had that dramatic kick returns. For touchdowns.
Yeah.
He was hit in the off season while he was out on the lake. Somebody ran over him with a boat.
Oh my goodness.
And he's out. He's gone for the season, and they're not sure he'll ever play again.
Wow.
And this is a guy. I mean, didn't do anything wrong, but he took an injury off the field, and did not get noted the way it probably would have if it happened during the season. But just sitting on a jet ski and got run over by a motorboat.
My goodness. You just never know, do you?
You just don't know what's going to happen. And on or off the field, it's just an uncertain world sometimes.
It sure is. And how many people gave DeMar Hamlin a chance to be back on the field?
Yeah, it's just amazing he's out there.
It is.
It really is.
It's just
miraculous. That he's physically able to come back and play at NFL caliber level, and is willing to do it.
Yes.
Because you got to admit, if you're just, dude, you basically died on the field.
He did.
And
that's right.
To be willing to go back out on that field, that's not just that's not just like I'm going to pop back up and brush off the pellets and line back up sort of injury.
That's true. That's true. Well, miracles happen. So.
And he's done a lot with what the people that supported him and the money that was sent. He's done some really good things.
He really has. He really has. Well, moving on to the golf world, after the first 18-hole round of the St. Jude Championship at the Tournament Players Championship Southwind in Memphis, Lucas Glover leads, sitting at 10 under par, followed closely by Jordan Spieth at 9 under and a knot of 5 other players at 8 under. Excuse me. Play continues today.
And I'm glad they've made St. Jude's part of the playoff.
I am too.
It's brought something extra to that event. And Mike, you mentioned at the beginning of the show you went to the IRL race in Nashville, the Indy race.
Yeah,
in Nashville.
well, I was there last weekend. Yeah.
But think about this: 20 years ago, well, let's say 25 years ago, if you had said, "Oh yeah, within the space of 8 days, Tennessee's going to have an Indy race, a PGA golf event, and have its NFL team playing an exhibition game," would you have believed them?
Absolutely not.
This market has dramatically changed. We're bringing in a lot of events we've never seen.
That's true.
Before.
That's true. Well, that's all I've got for this week's sports headlines. Now let's bring the Tennessee Smokies spotlight into focus. Back to you, Gunner.
All righty. That's where we're at right now. We're back on the Goatees sports page from Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. And I am Mike Edwards, and it's time to bring our panel back in. Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons. I did mention that Troy Provo-Heron is out, and he'll be back with us next week. But last Sunday, the Music City Grand Prix is, as Marcus just mentioned, was run through the streets of Nashville. It was the third year for the event. IndyCar in Nashville has made a go of it. I've attended all 3 events, and I've enjoyed them.
Yeah. Although it's kind of warm down there, wasn't it?
I wouldn't put it above the Indianapolis 500, but it's closer. Yeah. It's really nice to go down there and see it and be back in 3 hours or so and see a good show and enjoy yourself. The race this year, for the most part, was without mishap. 70 of the 80 laps were run pretty much caution-free, and I will add, thank goodness for that, because Podna, it was hot.
It was hot, wasn't it?
And I was sitting up there, and I'm going, oh, please don't have a red flag. Oh, please don't have a caution. And then, they got down to 10 laps, and they had the where they couldn't get through, and they didn't have any choice, but they had to red flag it and stop it there for the last 10 laps. But rain took precedent a little bit. the schedule on Friday and Saturday was moved back a little bit. It affected some of the other races that they had. But Friday and Saturday, the temperatures were, overcast, so, cooler. They were tolerable. Sunday was it was blistering.
Oh.
And even though they moved the race, Marcus, it had been like I think a 1:30 start previously, and heat had been an issue. They moved the start back to 11:30 this year, but that's still 12:30, our time, and
Right.
that's still getting up into the day, and it was hot. Donnie, you saw the race on television. It looked like Penske driver Scott McLaughlin was the guy that was going to rule the day. He led the first 24 laps from the pole position, but Andretti Autosport driver Kyle Kirkwood came away with the trophy. It was the second win of the season for him. He won at Long Beach earlier, and Andretti Autosports is they've had their ups and downs this season.
They sure have, Mike.
This was a good shot in the arm for them with Kyle Kirkwood winning. He came over from AJ Foyt Racing to them, and now that he's won 2 races this year, I would say that he's in good standing with that team as we speak this morning,
As
the season goes on.
Yeah, he made his presence known. I mean, he hung in there, and they didn't use his passes, and man, I tell you what, that I've never in my life seen as much junk on the track right there toward the last of the
Well, they
race.
shed those tires, and they get a lot of marbles out there.
Yeah,
and,
there were a lot of marbles on them.
IndyCar's got a lot of strategy. Strategy as far as when you take your pit stops. What tires do you start on? You start on the softer tires. You start on the harder tires. Are you looking for more speed up front? Are you looking for more endurance up? When do you use those tires during the race?
Sure.
Because all teams have to use a certain number of those tires. So,
how much does the shadow of downtown Nashville play on the course they were using? Like, does the Batman building cast a shadow coming across that bridge, or it seems like they're going from very bright to very dark in some of those.
I would think it would have some effect on the tires, but to me it was just as hot in the shade as it was almost in the sun. The other day was brutal. Now maybe next year when they change the course and they race down Broadway, they're going to change the course. I don't know what they're going to do with all those watering holes, Marcus, down Broadway.
Is it 50 style points if you take out?
They're going to go right down the middle of that deal.
Are they going to race one of those little bars where the bridal parties get on there and pedal down the street? Could they put one of those on there as an obstacle to go around?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the previous 2 years they had a lot of accidents, a lot of yellows. I think they had 9 yellows last year.
Last year there were
and they were calling it the Crashville Grand Prix. But this year, they behaved themselves, so to speak. Anyway, they had a late caution. I think the big story was Alex Palou right at the end because he didn't have enough fuel. With 10 laps to go, and he's the points leader.
He was having a concern.
And he was going to have to come in with maybe 5 laps to go. But when they got the yellow right there at the end, the red flag, it saved him. Saved his day. And, of course, he finished in the 3rd spot. And the guy that's closest to him in the points is Tennessee native Newgarden, Joseph Newgarden, and Newgarden finished 4th. But if Palou had to pit, boy, that would have put him back at the end of the field right there, and Newgarden would have closed that gap on points. So I think that was the real big story of the day. And where we were sitting, this is interesting too. We had up in our stands, which is as you come off the bridge there, we had Foyt's spotters. We had the Ganassi team spotters up there, and we had the Penske spotters up there. Marcus, they all had to buy a seat.
Really?
They all had to buy a seat. They had to buy a seat. I thought that was really interesting. And the Foyt guy, I had an extra seat. We were one row for the top, and I said, "Hey, buddy, you can have that seat on race day." This was on Saturday when he was spotting for qualifying. I said, "You can have that seat if you'll bring us all a hat and a shirt." said, we'll let you have that seat right there. It's a good seat right on the end. Well, he came the next day and he says, hey, I tell you what, I didn't have any luck on those hats and shirts. They were really nice guys. But that Ganassi guy was sweating bullets down there, with Pelot. Because, it was a done deal. They were pulling him in with 5 laps to go. And when that red caution came out and he just turned around and says, well, that worked out pretty nice. Of course, we had the radio headsets on, so we knew what was going on. But I thought that was pretty interesting that they were going to have to, come up with the cashier to find them a seat up there.
I came up with an idea watching just a little bit of that. Because you looked at how much of downtown Nashville they had to block off to allow that course to be set up. And I'm like, if you can do that, instead of using that track they've got out there on the edge of town for NASCAR, what if they shut down 840 from one end to the other? It's 70 miles long. Just let them run down that thing 5 times, back and forth. It's 70 miles long. And everybody can get on the overpasses and just watch and hoot, maybe shoot at them, whatever. And I think that'd make a great NASCAR race, better than your 2-mile road course.
Yeah.
70 miles straight down 840, see how fast you can go. First one to flip over into Murfreesboro loses.
I thought there was an interesting thing. You mentioned that the oval where they used to run out there at Murfreesboro, and I went to that too. That was a great thing. They filled the stands. I don't know why they got rid of it, but I was thinking they're always looking for venues and kind of saving money. And Iowa has 2 races. They have a dual race at Iowa. IndyCar does. They run on Saturday and they run on Sunday. And I'm thinking, well, Nashville could do that. It would be so unique because they could run the downtown track on a Saturday, and then the following Saturday, just hold the teams there. Don't go back to the transportation cost, and then run the oval there in Nashville the next week. They have all their teams there and setups and so forth. But I don't guess there's been any discussion about it. But
I don't know how well that track's been maintained since it's really, hasn't hosted a premier event in several years now. Yeah, and it takes a lot to keep those surfaces race quality.
Yeah, it really does, and it's a lot to set up. Of course, they've got a lot of street courses. St. Pete's a street course, and Detroit is a street course. They've got a lot of those street courses in now. Of course, they've got the regular road course down at Barber that just stays there all the time. But there's a lot that goes into putting the stands up and the barriers and the paddock area and all of that. And next year they're going to have to revamp all that because the Titans are building their stadium. They're building their new stadium down there, and they're building it where the paddock is this year. So they're going to have to relocate the paddock and the pit area, and it's going to be more of a straight deal over the bridge and then back over the bridge. That part's not going to change, but then as they come back to town, it's going to be more of a rectangle. There's not going to be all the curves that you saw on the other track, and then the other deal is to go down Broadway next year. So we'll see how that works out. But
maybe Kid Rock can get on the roof and take shots at them.
Yeah.
Or with them, or for them, or
I just don't know how they're going to handle all those places up there, with people walking around, because that's where your activity's at. It's up there on Broadway.
I don't know where they're going to allow them to pregame, because that's where everybody goes before the race.
Yeah. Well, Chip Ganassi had 3 cars in the top 10, 3rd, 5th, and 7th, and I walked to his trailer with him. He was walking out of the paddock area, and I just he's got a lot of things on his mind right now because Marcus Ericsson's looking. He may not be back, and Pelot may not be back. They were talking about Pelot going to Formula One or maybe to the Aero team, and Ericsson, they don't know about him. I thought about telling Chip that I'm in line to drive if he wants to hire me, but I'd be pretty good for maybe the pace lap, and the first lap after that, probably wouldn't be able to count on me much. But anyway, he's got some things going on with him, and this is the crazy season of drivers deciding and owners deciding where they're going to go next year. I thought that Christian Lundgaard had a 9th place finish for Ray Hall Letterman Racing. I thought that was impressive on his part. That team has struggled a little bit, and he finished 9th. And by golly, you got Scott Dixon. We mentioned he's always. If you're betting on somebody to show, or place, you can put it on Dixon because he's going to be right there. They've had 3 races at Nashville, Marcus. He's finished in the top 5 in all 3 of them. He's won 1 of them and finished in the top 5 all 3 times. But he's really a consistent driver and does real well. Made some notations here. One other thing. Simon Pagenaud was unable because of his crash up at Iowa. He's not been able to participate, so they put the Indy, I call it the Indy Lights. They've got another name for it. They call it the Indy NXT Championship Series, but that's the sort of like the in Winston Cup, it's the Busch Series. They used to call it the Busch Series, where the drivers are coming on up. But they put Linus Lundqvist, who had won that championship, into Pagenaud's car, and he did a great job. He qualified 11th, and he was running in the top 10 when he had his mishap at the end of the race. So I thought that was a really good story. But I made some notations down here about Nashville, how it's working out. And, Donnie, you mentioned it on TV. It looked like there was a lot of empty seats.
I thought it did, yeah.
And, in fact, when I watched some of the broadcasts, I thought the qualifying day had more people there than the race day. And I don't really understand why that was, but the stands were pretty well filled on qualification.
I think you answered that earlier.
Because
Broadway.
of the heat.
Yeah.
Broadway and the heat.
Yeah.
Those 2 things are hard to maintain for three consecutive days.
Yeah. I might add that on the heat aspect, that should be improved next year because they're moving this race to September next year. It will be it's going to be
help.
Well, it's also going to be exciting because it's going to be the last race of the year, so the championship could be decided right here in Nashville. Not Long Beach, not at Monterey, not anywhere else. Now, right here in Nashville, the championship's going to be decided.
So are they going to try to schedule that around the Titans' home schedule and the Vols' home schedule?
That's right. Well, I don't know about the Vols, but I'm sure it'll be scheduled around the Titans.
I mean, if you want to draw a crowd, you don't want to be competing against UT home game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe it'd be more fun to drive around the Titans being out there as well.
Yeah. But we'll see what takes place on. I got one interesting thing. That Sunday, we had to walk. We stayed downtown, and this is one thing that I object to. It the 3 years I've been there, there's been a lot of walking. I can't seem to find any shuttles from downtown to the track, and it's a long walk. And to our seat is about, it's probably a mile and a half. From downtown to 2 miles. You're familiar with that area. Over the bridge there by the Titan Stadium, and then down below there, and in there, and then our seats were on the far end. Sunday, I was just give out. Time I got down to that area, got to this stand that sold slushies and lemonades and that type of thing, and this lady looked at me and she goes, "Man, you look like you're really hot and you're really tired." Said, "Sit down in this chair." So I sat down in the chair of the people that were running the stand, and she come over and says, "Here, drink this big lemonade." She gave me a great big old lemonade, and she wouldn't let me pay. I felt like the guy on Pickett's charge. It got up to the wall, and they felt so sorry for him, they just brought him over the wall. The Union Army just brought the Confederate over the wall. Helped him over. That's the way I felt. But, it was beautiful. One other thing, Helio Castroneves, Donnie, announced yesterday that he will not run next year a regular schedule. He will not run a regular schedule next year. He will only run Indianapolis.
He's going to slack off.
He's slacking off. And he will be missed. He's a great ambassador for the sport. Marcus, let's talk about this before we get out of here.
Okay.
Nashville's got this race down there, and we talk about the big series is Formula One, the NASCAR, and IndyCar. IndyCar, they race on ovals. In order to win the championship, they race on ovals, they race on street courses, they race on road courses. Formula One races street courses and road courses. NASCAR races predominantly ovals, although they did have a street course in Chicago this year, and they have raced at Watkins Glen. But my question is, to win a championship and to have to race on those different courses, is IndyCar the most competitive racing series we have in the world?
I would say it's the most diverse. Now, let's not forget NASCAR also did dirt at Bristol.
That's correct. That's correct. Oh, that's correct.
So
yeah.
we'll give them some points for diversity there as far as the challenges go.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's probably the best all-around type of driver to handle all three of those. I think when the difference between racing well in an oval and even a small oval versus a super oval is very different than what you need on a road course, which is very, very different than what you need on a true street course. So if you can master all of those, and you're going to have to at least show well on all of those. You can't have a weak spot where you're coming in last whenever you hit that type of track. Then it's going to make you a champ who's the best all-around type of driver.
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah. And IndyCar this year, if a driver wins on all three of those tracks this year, it's $1 million. By the way. Wow. $1 million. That's the payoff, and there's a couple of guys that's in line to do that before the season's over. They're in Indianapolis this weekend. IndyCar's on the road course. They're in Indianapolis with NASCAR this weekend, both of them together. I like that. It's a good weekend. They're both
Mike,
in there.
what you need to do is you need to get with Roger L. Newman and see what they can put together for you to drag behind, like something you can wear or pull around. It's got a cooling unit, the Mike Edwards special. I bet Roger could come up with something for you.
You know, that wouldn't be a backpack. Or maybe a helmet with the deal coming in, the coolant deal like they have in the cars and stuff. Just walk around with that. That'd be cool. Yeah. Okay. Donnie, we ready to go to break?
We're
here?
ready to break. Anytime you are.
All right. Hey, it's time for a break, and when we return, the panel presents the Shelter Insurance Bowl predictions. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today: call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the panel Shelter Insurance Bowl predictions for the week. And let's just go back where this show started. We've got 3 schools right now that they're sweating bullets. California, Washington State, and Stanford, the remnants of the Big 12.
Pac-12.
Pac-12, I'm sorry. There's too many 12s out there.
Yeah.
And they got the Big 10 that's now the Big 18, but it's still the Big 10. So
It's just a very, very Big 10.
I'm totally confused. Marcus, start with you. Where are they going? Will they go together? Will they go separate somewhere? Where are they going? What's your prediction?
I think Washington State, Oregon State, I think they're both going to end up in the Big West or the West in that
Mountain
West Conference, and they'll probably take over as the dominant players for that conference. I don't know that it doesn't benefit Stanford to be independent, and I think they could go that route. I just don't know about Cal. I don't think they're going to want to join the Big Ten, but maybe they'll go in the Mountain West. If I had to bet, I'm going to say they're going to start off in the Mountain West.
Yeah. And we've talked predominantly about California, Washington State, and Stanford, but Oregon State's in there too. Is that correct? And that's my error.
Those are the four left.
Yeah. There's four of them.
Yeah.
And now, Donnie, what do you think?
Well, that was my thinking too about Washington State and Oregon State. I kind of thought they would join the Mountain West Conference as well. Cal and Stanford, I can't see them going to the ACC. It's too much of a commute, too long of a commute. I mean, to go across the country every time they play a ball game.
You're on the Pacific Ocean, and you're going to go play in the Atlantic Coast
Conference. Yeah, that's not what I think is. I can't see that happening. They're either going to go independent and join up with somebody. I don't know. Maybe Notre Dame, like you said. Maybe Notre Dame's going to.
Let's save them.
Make a conference of their own, and they could do that.
I think I just think they're hung out to dry.
And they may be.
I don't know
what they're going
to go to the Big 12. They're not going to go to the Big 10. They're not going to go to the SEC.
Nope.
It doesn't look like they're going to the ACC. So all their options of the big money,
they're limited at this point.
It doesn't look good. I think that somebody's going to step up out there and they're going to try to save the Pac-12. And they're going to go after some of these other teams out there, maybe a San Diego State or, some of those teams out there on the coast.
Recruit some of those teams that are in other conferences.
Try to get them they need another 5 or 6 teams. They didn't have a TV deal to start with.
Nope.
They're not going to be hurt too much there because they don't have anything there to start with. But if you don't have any place to go, at least you could salvage, staying right out there, Marcus. So you don't want all those travel expenses. I think there will be an effort to try to salvage that league out there and pick up some other teams that are, not Power 5 schools.
You've got San Diego State. You've got a couple more of the UCs. Irvine being one of them.
Yeah, you got several of those.
Maybe you try to go to Eastern Washington and try to get them to move up a level. I don't know.
Well, what about a North Dakota State or so? They're awful. They'd have to move up, but they've been awful strong in football.
There's some big Division II players out there you could consider, but it's never going to replace USC and UCLA.
Well, no, it's not. But you got your.
But that's your pick. You think they're going to try to salvage it?
I don't think they're going to have any other choice. And obviously, if they're independent, are they going to have the money to travel all the way up? Notre Dame can be independent and travel wherever they want to go because money's no object.
Sure.
But when you got these schools right here and going independent, I think didn't BYU weren't they independent up until a year or so ago? Brigham Young?
They played with independence for a little brief period of time.
They did,
I think so. Yeah, they're not now, but they did. I just think that's a tough go. I think it's a tough scheduling deal. And when you've got all these schools now that have the 4 power conferences, I think it just makes it really hard to schedule. Huh? What do you think?
I think it does.
Yeah, it does.
But I'm going to make Troy's pick since he's not here to defend himself. So Troy's pick is going to be that Notre Dame is going to open an umbrella of independence and let these guys in and negotiate under the Notre Dame contract for broadcast rights so they can remain independent.
They'll have the Independence League.
Yes.
Well, that's a thought. What about, before we get out here real quick, before you blow that whistle, don't blow it yet, Florida State.
You don't notice, Donnie.
It's coming up next. Florida State, they leaving, they staying.
Florida State
And if
stays.
they leave, are they going to be in
How
the
long? Well, how long a window are we talking? 2 years, 1 year?
I thought I
next
read
week?
it next Tuesday that that they had to make a decision.
They stay.
But they stay.
They stay. Tuesday they stay.
They stay.
Well, I haven't heard any word whether the SEC would pick them up, and I would think that would be the logical place they would go, unless the Big Ten wants a southern presence. All right, we're done. Donnie's chomping at the whistle. Let's get out of here. Okay. Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael at Loud Media, our host, the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, Troy Provo-Heron, and Brian Johnston at Goatees. Until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the Goatee Sports Page. The best in local sports since 1978.